Hassel here, co-host of the Nerdy Man Room Show. We proudly present to you Man Room Shorts. Your discretion is advised.
But while we're on Warner, let's talk about them for a minute because they seem to be undergoing a lot of changes. Seems to be a lot of pressure on them. I'm sure it's coming from AT&T, who bought Time Warner, 2 or 3 years ago at this point. But a couple of things we've heard over the weekend. First thing being that DC Comics team might be seeing their end with the company. They were kicked out of the office space now. They've been told to work remotely, so it's not like hey, we're getting rid of you. It's just, hey, we're not going to have office space for you. Now, a couple of notes on that is one, they are building a new office center for all of Warner Brothers Media and Time Warner, so maybe they'll be moving into there, but they haven't announced who's moving into there and where
It's kind
anywhere.
of
So
speculated that they may not be part of the moving in crowd.
yeah, and that's the thing. But and I've been part of one of these moves before. We built a new office space, and then people went there, and it was one of those where, hey, if you are at this level and above, you have an office because we only have so many office spaces. All these cubicles, we're not assigning them. You either work from home, or if you get here in enough time, you get to pick your cube you're working at that day. So nobody has an assigned seating. So I'm wondering if it's going to be one of those cases, but they tell them only your executives, like maybe Jim Lee is going to be able to go there, but inker number two over here, you go work from home. Which most
And
of the
what is he
creative
on?
team works from home anyway, but
Yeah, exactly. At that point, you might as well work from home if you got one or two executives in the office and everyone else is at home. You're zooming it
yeah.
in any damn ways.
Well, and I've seen a lot of companies too saying, "Hey, we're just going to get rid of office spaces anyway." Based on COVID and everything else, they sent so many people home, and then they saved on electricity, they saved on rental space. They're like, "We don't need these office buildings anymore. Everybody just work. Y'all talk to each other virtually anyway, so why come in here?" So there may be more to it, but it's kind of interesting that they kicked them out already, and nobody else got kicked out.
How fun is it as a fan, though, to think of it from this aspect of the House of Mouse absorbing them?
I don't. So this is the thing. I don't know if they will sell the intellectual property, but they will sell the licenses to them. You write Superman comics now, but you don't own it, so we get a portion of the profit. That way, they don't have any of the expenses, but they're going to get a section of profit out of it. Because I think that's one of the things that they're seeing with a lot of the Warner Brothers stuff, and we got a couple more things to talk about with them, but they're not getting their
Oh,
profit.
they're going to pimp them. They're going to pimp the property out as long as they can. But
Oh yeah,
I can see Marvel going for that though, just because if one of the two major two goes down, it's not good for the other one.
no,
However, if they get the properties and can keep them as you know, going as another Earth, and then having some crossovers here or there that boost these sales, it's
that
just good business.
yeah, that would be great. I think from Marvel's perspective, you've still got to pay the creative teams who are actually creating that. I think that's what Warner Brothers wants to get away from. Let's have our properties and let's sell our properties and have the ability to make our movies about them, but we'll let somebody else write the stuff so we ain't got to pay the creators.
That would be the only hang up I would see Disney having is the fact that they wouldn't be allowed to produce the movies as well.
Uh,
I can see that. I can see them being happy to make the movies and pay Warner Brothers a share like they do with Sony,
yeah, maybe. It would be
and
interesting to
finally we'll
see.
get some shit right then.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But it's a very strange thing to see them kicked out. And then one of the other really strange things, and you brought this up once before, but to tie into this, the CW majority of their shows, their backbone shows, are DC properties. Now there's some that are not, like your Walker Texas Ranger, your All American, the teen dramas, right? But CW has not renewed. Well, at first they said none of the shows had been renewed for next year. They have come out and said they've renewed two of the shows. I know Flash is one, and I want to say it's Naomi is the other one that might have been renewed. I might be wrong about that, but a lot of their other shows aren't renewed as well. And part of that they're saying is because CW is being shopped out to be sold by Warner Brothers and their partner Paramount, who owns the other half of it. Because you remember one time it was UPN before it was CW, and Paramount owned half, Warner Brothers owned half, and they are both saying that they are tired of taking the profit loss for it, especially with Paramount having Paramount Plus now and making
At
money.
this point, they would probably make more money to sell what existing shows they have out to syndication to streaming services and no longer produce anything because they got what 20 years now of content. So I mean,
Yeah, and they're trying to sell the entire station out at this point, and that's why they're not renewing shows, is the rumor, because they don't want to say, "Hey, we're going to renew it," then not actually be there in another year or so for the stuff to come out. I know they did the Flash one, and that's pretty popular, but you got an easy outlet for these. CW being half owned by two stations that have streaming services. One of the two of them just buy the shows and put them on their streaming service because the CW streaming service is completely free. You don't even have to have cable television to log in and watch their stuff or have an account you subscribe to.
That was always baffling to me. I mean, you're taking a beating and a loss money wise, and your streaming service and the thing is, even if you had like say you had a satellite provider, like I'm all streaming, and I do Hulu Live, plug for Hulu. So hey, if you want to pay hassle, hey, here we go. But back when I did have Dish Network and I had HD everything, the CW only come as standard.
Yeah.
If you wanted to watch any of their shows in high definition, you had to wait for it to hit on Netflix or watch it on the CW app. If the CW app was in HD. And so your free app is HD while your paid show, and you had to pay extra for CW on Dish.
Yeah.
Was in standard. It's just baffling. That's just, I see why they're taking a loss.
And not only this, you talked about their content library for all the properties they had before that are ended now. They have a whole separate streaming service called CWC, which is a lot of the shows that were made strictly for a streaming platform by internet creators, or shows that had not been on air for a while, like what's one like your
like Buffy or Angel, things of this nature.
Yeah, it's not necessarily those, because I think those their rights belong to Hulu and stuff. They've been sold to them, but there's some other shows that they have. Yeah. Oh man, what's that? There's one of them with the guy who played Reed Richards in Fantastic Four, the two movies that they had, and he dies every day and he comes back to life, or he dies. He's immortal. He dies and he'll come back to life, and he's a medical examiner or whatever. I can't remember the name of the show to save my life right now, but like that was made for CW. It only ran for one season, but it runs on CWC now. You can sit there and watch. I rewatched the entire thing on there because I didn't see it all when it was on the actual CW network. But they have a few shows that are made strictly for like a streaming service. They're like 10, 15-minute episodes, and there's 10 or 12 episodes of it. Very strange that they have two streaming platforms though. Nobody has to pay for either one of them, and you watch all that content. And I see why they're operating at a loss now.
Yeah,
but
that's basic dollars and cents right there.
Short of selling the channel, which is what they're trying to do, I guess, because there's more stuff about selling the whole channel and everything with it, which I don't really know a lot about. But I don't see why one of those two that own it wouldn't just absorb it and put it on their streaming platform and say, okay, we'll do these shows, but they're only on streaming. Like Star Trek Discovery is only on Paramount Plus. It's not on CBS or any of their own channels. It's only on streaming. So why not?
Well, you make it exclusive to that streaming service, and that boosts your subscriptions. I mean, that's
yeah, that's what I'm saying. And especially the people who like for the CW shows, the ones that are really popular, like The Flash and your Superman and Lois has had great ratings and stuff. Put those on there. If you don't like one, don't do another season. Get rid of the ones that are tanking and keep the ones that are good.
I literally got Paramount Plus only for 1883 because I just had to see 1883, which I love and hate at the same time. I loved the story. It was great. I hated the fact that it wound up being a 10-hour movie. It's not getting a second season. It was never intended to have a second season. But I picked up this streaming platform solely to stream that. Then once I got it, I was like, holy shit, there's a lot of really great movies on here. Yeah. And as a horror fan, they got a better horror selection on there than Peacock Peacock, Hulu, Netflix, even HBO Max. They got a better horror selection than any of those. So I highly recommend, if you're a horror fan, get Paramount Plus. It has a great horror selection on there, and a lot of times you can catch the Universal monsters on there. They kind of come and go.
I went for it for Star Trek because while I can get most of the Star Trek shows on either Netflix or Hulu, the ones that have already been produced, all the new content's coming through there, and they have every Star Trek season you can want on there. And then they got a few old shows, like they got the original MacGyver is on there. The new MacGyver was on there, and actually I enjoyed that one. It was actually a pretty well done remake. But
I got it for
do what?
What about MacGyver?
No, he's on Peacock, and I try not to watch that one. So before we jump in, because we're running a little closer on time, before we jump into the topics, the last thing that we wanted to mention on the Warner Brothers stuff is not only did they kick DC out of the office, they haven't renewed any of their shows. They moved all of their movie releases as well.
This is
Black
not
Adam,
good news, people.
every one of them got pushed backwards except for Shazam. Shazam was the only one that came forward. Black Adam moved all the way back to October, and it was supposed to be what, June or so. League of Super Pets is back to got pushed back for later in July from a earlier date, so that one wasn't a huge one. The Flash and Aquaman 2 both moved to next year in March and June separately. And Shazam actually got pulled up from next year to be in December of this year, which kind of makes sense because I'm sure it's leading off of what the Black Adam was doing. But what was so bad in Flash and Aquaman they had to go back to next year?
How crazy is it? The one we've seen the least amount of. You've seen hardly anything of Shazam. A few steals, a few pictures, and that's the only one not stalled out.
Not only not stalled out, it moved up from either February or March all the way back to December.
That's a little troubling.
Yeah, and I wonder too. So from what I've seen so far, it's not because of Aquaman, maybe because of production, because they were running behind on production schedule. So it's late anyway. So that probably moved there. The Flash one, I haven't seen anything about it being late or any bad footage or anything. I'm just wondering, how much of some of this is because it's related to some of this money stuff that's going on and saying, hey, we're trying. So you push it back to June of next year, knowing you just started your new Flash season on TV, and you're going to have another one probably kicking off around shortly after that.
I believe
If you're
Flash
still
is
there,
rumored to be having reshoots as well, isn't it?
it might be. I don't know. I haven't seen anything on it.
I want to say I read something just in passing the other day about Flash reshoots beginning soon.
It may be. I haven't really looked into it too much. I just saw all the changes. I was like, well, there goes my movie viewing for the rest of the year. So